Welcome to this week's edition of Chatting with a Lancashire Legend. We couldn't have this series without one of the most iconic, the most well-known, and definitely one of the most loved players of our club. Former Lancashire and Tasmania cricketer, committee member, former chairman, now senior vice president of the club. How are you doing, mate? You're looking fantastic.
Yes, I'm fine. I'm just a bit, I'm pleased now that the lockdown is going to be eased considerably, but we haven't been out much. I've played golf for about the last 3 weeks, 2 of us for 9 holes, and that's been my exercise, other than doing exercises with Jacqueline in the hallway and standing on steps up and down what I had to do at the gym when I'd had that heart attack.
Simo, funny enough, talking about the gym and exercising doesn't really bode well with you, really, does it, throughout your career?
No matter what anybody says, even when I spoke to David Hughes in America, and I told him the exercises I were doing, he said, "You must be joking, Simo." He said, "You've never done that many exercises in your life." And no, I wasn't renowned for that, and I used to get a lot of stick. And I was highly delighted when Graham Lloyd joined more or less the first team squad and was training with us, because he wasn't a right good trainer either, so he took half the stick as well as me.
Have you learned any new skills over the time you've been in lockdown?
New skills, yeah. I know how to switch the telly on and change over the TV stations a lot quicker than what I could do before. And now Jacqueline comes into the bar to watch the telly, and I stay in the lounge because I'm moving from golf to cricket to football. And then when it's all finished, I'll put a film on until about 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't go to bed. I've never gone to bed early, but I'm now even going later.
Oh, fantastic. So let's, you know what, Jack, we're here to talk about you, and we're here to talk about your career with the Red Rose County. And give us a bit of an insight where you started your career and where your love of cricket actually came from.
Well, my father, Robert Simmons, Bob Simmons as he was known, he captained Enfield Cricket Club, and my grandfather apparently was the best probably batsman of any of us, and there was talk that he would have gone on and played for England, but for the First World War. He was renowned for being very, very good, and he was the first one. The first photograph I've ever seen with me with a cricket bat was when I was 3, walking on Blackpool Prom with my granddad.
Wow.
At the age of 3. So he was one instrumental for getting me there. He used to also take me to learn swimming on a Sunday morning. And we had to walk from Clayton Le Moors to Accrington, which is 2 or 3 miles, swim and then walk back. And that's probably one of the reasons I don't do too much these days.
You did enough early on, but you joined Lancashire. Tell us what year you joined the county and you signed your first contract, because you're a bit of a late starter, weren't you, as a pro?
Yes, but when I was 16, when I was 14, I got in Enfield's first team. And through Johnny Wardle, who got sacked at Yorkshire that year, came and played for Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing for Enfield. And when I went in, I went up and went into the dressing room, and the captain said, "You're opening today, Simo. Right, put your pads on." I went out, and I was last man out. And I was 40. I got 40. And wow. The score, I was last out, and I'd gone in opening, and we were 72 all out. And Wardle apparently got in touch with Lancashire and said, "You want to go and have a look at this youngster?" And so I had to thank him initially And it's amazing how many people, Yorkshiremen, have been instrumental in Jack Simmons doing well throughout the years. And from there, I got invited to play in the second 11. Oh, well, naturally, I went schoolboys. I captained North Lancashire schoolboys at Old Trafford against South Lancashire. Then got the captaincy of Lancashire schoolboys. And I found out, I was looking at one or two scrapbooks, and you won't believe this, Warren. The first team that I got picked for Lancashire Schools Cricket Association in 1955 was captained by Michael Cairns.
Really? The former chairman, Michael? Oh, unbelievable.
And we went to Cumberland and played at Carlisle, and things just went, you know, as they usually do. I had a lot of help from a teacher of mine, Bob Cunliffe, and Derek Day.
Yeah.
It was a big involvement of schoolboys cricket.
Yeah.
And he lived not far from me, but he was very instrumental in making sure that I got all the trials for the Lancashire schoolboys and so on and so forth. And that's how it all started.
Jack, have you always been an off spinner? Have you always bowled off spin, even in the younger ages?
Yes, but my father always told me that's what I had to do, and then I used to mix it up with playing for Enfield when I was 16, 17. Naturally, I was in the first team by then, and sometimes I'd run up and bowl 2 or 3 off spinners and a couple of leggies and a quicker ball. And my father was the one that coached me on the bowling side. But the great Clyde Walcott, one of the 3Ws, was professional at Enfield when I was a youngster. And he was instigated me with the batting, and he coached me because he lived with my sister and her husband and used to come down to my mother's for his meals because he didn't like Vera's cooking, my sister's. So I came down, and I just became like a very good friend, and he used to take me everywhere.
Did he?
Once embarrassed me when he came over as manager for the West Indies side, and he came into the dressing room and he turned around, and I got 50 or 60 in this particular game, or he'd seen that I'd got it, and he just came in. I think David Lloyd was captain and maybe Bondi was manager. And he turned around to both of them and said, you know, you're batting him too low down the order. He should be higher up the order. I thought, where am I going now? I'm ready to run out.
But the lads that we've had on, Jack, before, the lads that we've had on the Legends series, Bumble, we've had Yozza, we've had, from that era and 70s. And they speak about those times with really, really fond memories. What are your memories of that great team of the late 60s and 70s under Bondi?
Well, it naturally all started when Clive came as well, and you won't believe I had to pick Clive Lloyd up at Haslingden to take him to a second 11 game when he was qualifying to play for the first team. Wow. And I picked him up at Haslingden and took him down there. I played, I got a couple of 3 wickets and about 20 odd. And then the next game we played at Nelson, and I got 80 odd with the bat, 5 wickets in one innings and 4 in another. And then they picked me for the first team in 1968 when I was 68. How old would I have been then? 27. That's after I'd missed all them years because of me I wanted to. Well, my mother wanted me to serve my time, and they offered me a contract when I was 19 after I'd done well with the second 11. And boy, did I want to sign. And did my father want me to sign? He did. But my mother said, there's nobody in the Simmons family ever had a profession. I'd like you to wait. So I spoke to Stan Worthington, and he said, I can understand that, Jack. Don't worry about it. We'll bring you down when you're 21.
Brilliant.
He finished, the secretary finished, the chairman finished, and nobody knew I had to go down when I was 21. Oh, that was it.
You had to go down the hard route. But tell us about some of the characters in that team, and why that team was so successful at the home of cricket at Lord's.
Well, I think mainly it was Bondi, without any doubt whatsoever. He's the best captain I ever played under. He always had the right word to say to you, even if you were getting annoyed, which on one occasion I could remember playing against Kent in a semi-final. And he bowled Shut twice, he bowled Woody twice, he bowled Plank twice, and he weren't bowling me. And I thought, what have I done wrong? And then a bit later, Dinesh was still batting and somebody else, Alan Knott. And he said, right, Sim, we'll come and have a ball. He said, I've waited until this time because I know you can get these two out. Oh, I said, thanks very much, Bondi. Went on, I got them both out. And we went on and got to the final again. But he always had the right word. He was a great man manager. He didn't like, superstars. Everybody was in that side on merit, and they all deserved to be in that side on merit, and that's how he took them. He spoke to everybody, and as far as I'm concerned, he was the reason why. Because be that he was a lot older than the rest of us at that time, 69 and 70, and he retired in 70 or 71. Anyway, whatever it was. Yeah, he retired after we'd won the Gillette Cup for the third time, 71. And, his feeling, he wanted, when one day cricket came in, especially the Sunday League in 69, and that's, I'm sure, one of the reasons why the coach then wanted me to join the staff, because they needed a few more all-rounders, if you want to call it that. And when I joined, he said, right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to play this. Yorkshire didn't want to play Sunday League cricket, especially Closey as captain. Bondi did. He said, we're going in and we're going to try and win it. And I want everybody to dive after balls in the field. If you can stop 1 or 2 runs each member of the side, it's like another batsman scoring 20 odd. And we did this, and we used to win by only scoring 120s, 130s in 40 over games, which were, you wouldn't even think about that now.
No,
we did. And we did it regularly. And he was the instigator. I can always remember Woody turning around and saying, it's all right for you, Bondi. You have somebody to wash your flannels. Guess what he did? He said, if you can't get it washed, I'll pay for them to be washed for you, Woody. Being Woody, we're a little bit on the tight side.
He was from Yorkshire, though, wasn't he?
Correct. And Bondi came back with about 2 or 3 days later, we're cleaner. And we had a big rail in the dressing room, and we all put on shirts and flannels, and they were taken away and back the following day. And that was through Bondi.
Brilliant.
So everybody find them. I took mine home to Jack.
Jack wanted to wash yours for you, and putting that nice little line in your pants, and your collars were always nice, weren't they, Simo? I remember that when I first joined. You were obviously you were coming to the end of your career when I did join Lancashire, but I say to people this day that walking into that Lancashire dressing room with the likes of Simmons, of Clive Lloyd, being part of the heritage, pinch yourself moment for me, really. And I think I got changed next to you for the first part of my career.
You took over others, didn't you?
Well, I was next to others. Me and others signed at on the same day, and I think
I was
we penned
one.
you in.
Others took over mine when I
Yes.
retired, and you were number 2, I think. Yeah.
I think I was. Yeah, great times. But that team, Jack, we have to go back to that team of the late 60s and 70s. They seem to be talking to the guys of that era, yourself and Yoza. They seem to be a massive pride thing about actually walking out there representing Lancashire.
Oh, without doubt. And again, that was through Bondi and all the things he mentioned, you know. If you can find a better job, go and do it.
Yeah, great attitude.
And that's one of the things I've always said to anybody who has joined the staff at Lancashire. If you can find a better job than going out there at Old Trafford on that magnificent grass, then you go and do it, because as far as I'm concerned, you'll never find a better job. And that's why I continued for as long as I continued. Bondi would always turn round, you know, the fielding was so much in his mind. He had us on fielding drills before I knew anybody ever did fielding drills. We'd always have catching practice, but fielding drills, he just got them going. And when you turn round and look at that side, you know, Wood Lloyd, Pilling, Clive Lloyd, Ken Snellgrove, Frank Hayes, David Hughes, Jack Simmons, Pete Lever, Ken Shuttleworth, and then Leapy joined us. So we had a very, very good side. And Bondi took the risk of, well, after the first, in 1969, he took the risk. He didn't play David Hughes and me in the first Sunday League game. He just played like everybody did, leading little medium paces.
Yeah.
Until they got hit with Boise down in Essex for I don't know how many. And after that, he just decided, that is it. I can set a field to spinners, and that's what I'm going to do. Brilliant. And he put us in, and after the first year, Yoza and myself were getting 25 and 26 wickets in the Sunday League. And but when the fielding, you know, to have Clive Lloyd, when I'm bowling off spinners and I have Clive Lloyd at cover or extra cover, I have David Hughes at straight mid-wicket, boy, did we have a good way of stopping singles. And no, it worked a treat. And this was all through Jack Bond's foresight of seeing that's what we had to do in the fielding side. The run-outs we got in Sunday League was unbelievable.
Yeah, and Bondi was a leading guy on that, and I think no doubt, Simo, and you'll agree with me that you know, God, he departed last year from us, would have been definitely one of the guys on this series, because he was such an iconic leader of our club.
Yeah, without any doubt. He was all, not only that, Jacqueline and Florence became very, very good friends. And we went on holiday. I got a rollicking because my car broke down when we just got to Calais. And he said, what do you think? Get it fixed. Take it in that garage. I said, hey, Jack, we're on holiday. I'm not on field. So you're giving me, you know, the lowdown. And but we always did get on, and it didn't matter. And he turned around. I can always remember one game. He turned around to me. He said, right, we're going down to Hampshire. He said, Jacqueline can come down because Florence is coming down. So naturally he wanted somebody to be with Florence. And then when we got there, he left me outside and put Shawnee in. What did you bring me down here for then? He said,
you probably had some chip shops.
Yes, correct. Well, we once went down there on the coach, and I said, I think we better stop at London and get some fish and chips, because we'll not be in time to get down to Bournemouth or Dover or wherever we were going to be able to get a meal. And we stopped, at the fish and chip shop, just down from Lord's.
Yeah, it's the seashells.
The Seashell.
I've been a few times with you there, Jack. Timo, I'll never forget one of my early experiences with you, and you made the team coach, because you're obviously senior player, and you made the coach trying to manoeuvre its way through those little London streets, and it pulled up outside the Seashell, and everyone dived off and place and chips, cod and chips. You said, this is the best fish and chips in London. We need to stop here.
Yeah.
And I remember there was uproar, but we laughed about it, and off you trundled, and you were like the prodigal son returning for the owner. Jack, Mr. Simmons, Jack, Mr. Jack, how are you doing? I remember that.
It probably was that time, and the coach driver parked and just happened to just touch a car that was parked on the corner where it shouldn't have been parked, because he was trying to round the corner, and he saw the car, it just took him, and he were in the queue for the fish and chip shop, and he came running out.
I think that was the time. Yeah, the diets have changed slightly since that, Simo. But let's move swiftly on to that, because I want to touch on your time overseas and a great impact and many friends made when you went over to Australia to play for the island of Tasmania. Beautiful place, and you had lots of success there. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, I was lucky. I went to South Africa the winter before, and I learned a lot there, going with Dickie Bird, Clive Radley, Alan Gordon, Kevin Lyon, played for Glamorgan, and quite a few Pete Stringer from Yorkshire and Leicester. There were quite a number over there playing cricket and also coaching in South Africa. And I saw the best under-13s and under-15s that I'd seen and how it went. So luckily for me, when I went to Tasmania, got off the plane in Launceston for the first time, and this is how much they respected the coaching of somebody coming over from England. Jacqueline and myself were just getting off the plane, and down the steps from the terminal kept running with photographers and journalists, and I turned around to Jacqueline and I said, there must be somebody important getting off this plane. And when we walked through, it was for me.
Wow.
Into the VIP lounge, and they just turned around and said, right, what are you going to do? Where are you going to start your coaching? I said, well, I haven't had a chance to speak to the chairman or the chairman of coaching. He said, oh, never mind them. Whatever you want to do, you can do. And this was full with television and journalists. And I said, well, I'd like to start with the under-13s at primary school level. And, they organised a television camera to follow me around for the first 2 weeks in every school that I went into, which were 24 primary schools. I didn't do the high schools until after Christmas, of which there were 12. And that's how it all started. And I loved it. I actually absolutely loved it. And what Lancashire had at that time, Mr. Burroughs, who was a chairman of Lancashire, he used to give certificates out to kids if they got past 1 or 2 tests. And I took all those out to Tasmania, to all the schools. My luggage was full of medals and certificates for kids passing the test cricket examination. And they loved it. And you
won a trophy though, Jack. You won the trophy. The first trophy that Tassie won. You were in that team.
Oh yeah, I was captain. I was made captain. They never ever won again. Never mind a trophy. And I can always remember Tassie used to play. They weren't in Sheffield Shield, you see, then.
No.
So all they played was one Gillette Cup game, and maybe a game against the tourists, so that they could, get some practice. And that's all they had. So one particular game, we were playing Victoria on the MCG, and we'd never ever won a game. And this is when Jack Simmons became a hero, because we needed 6 off the last over.
Yeah.
And we hit a 2 and then a 1. I went up the end, and I'm waiting and I pushed. Oh, there was a wicket fell at the other end, and then the bloke came in, a 6'4" Adonis, fast bowler for us. I've forgotten his name at the moment. He'll come to me. And I played a ball in the covers towards Ian Redpath because we only needed 2.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't run. I said, that's an easy one. He said, Jack, I am not coming down that end again. I have never been as nervous in my entire life. And he wouldn't run. So I tried to hit Alan Seiler, who left arm over, coming across me, over on the leg side, because everybody was on the offside. I missed it, and down to the last ball. Ian Redpath's in the covers, and got down to the last ball. And I knew where he was going to bowl, so I hit it over wide, mid-off, and towards extra cover. And Jim Higgs went round the boundary edge, flung himself, got his fingertips, and it went for 4. And we won of me hitting the last ball. And from then on, all the coaching I did at schools, I was invited into the headmaster's study for tea before I went to coach the kids.
I bet that was a good thing for you. Brilliant. And so Tasmania played a big part in your life, and I know you've got lots and lots of friends there, and you're always welcome back when you get over to Down Under. But Jack, let's talk about, people know the Jack Simmons, and they're famous for Jack Simmons fish and chips and the Simmons Special. Tell me about the Simmons Special, because Yoza speaks about it, and Walt and Fowl speak about the Jack Simmons Special. Whereabouts was it, and what did it entail?
In Great Harwood, where I live, on Clayton Street, there was a fish and chip shop. It was Jack and Frida's fish and chip shop.
Yeah.
And it more or less, I started going when I was playing soccer semi-professionally, because I was working at County Hall in the drawing office, and I would come back for training. So I'd come straight from work at 5:30, go down to Great Harwood training, no tea. So after we'd finished, we'd go to the chippy, a few of us, and I was hungry because I hadn't had anything. This would be about 9 o'clock-ish, whatever after we'd finished training.
Yeah.
9:30, and I hadn't had anything since lunchtime, and that probably was only a sandwich. So I started having steak pudding, chips and peas, and then one or two of the lads would have fish and chips and peas. And I thought, I'm still hungry, so I said, put a fish on this. So it became renowned that my meal after training was a steak pudding, chips and peas with a fish on top. And it became known as the Jack Simmons Special. Well, there used to be about 3 or 4 of us would go into the chippy, and I'd pay one week, the next would pay, and then we had somebody who was a little bit tight. And when it was his turn to pay, he didn't go. So the next week, he came, because it wasn't his turn, and I ate the steak pudding, fish, chips and peas. I said, I'm still hungry. And he said, I don't know whether to have that again. He said, you can't eat that again. I said, if I get it, are you paying for it? He said, if you eat it, I'll pay for it. I said, not just mine, everybody's. I said, bring it on to Jack and so they brought it on, and I ate it twice. I was bloody full, I might tell you, but I ate it twice. And when I finished, at bowlers, everybody knew my eating habits of fish chips and peas with a pudding and things like that.
Yeah.
And television came to bowlers and wanted me to come to Great Harwood to Jack and Frida's Chippy and televise me retiring, going to the fish and chip shop and having steak pudding, fish chips and peas. And we couldn't get, because there was a murder or something, and we're halfway to Great Harwood, and they had to turn around and go back and report on this murder or whatever it was. And they said, you have to go in a fish and chip shop. So we went in one chip shop I've never been in my life, and I had to go up and ask for the Jack Simmons Special. I got it, and I took it to bowlers, and they filmed me eating the Jack Simmons Special when I was retiring from cricket.
I remember yours are laughing about it. You tell that story about the end, pudding chips and peas with gravy and a fish on top. And then the famous line was, "Don't give me any bread and butter because I won't eat my tea when I get home to Jacqueline."
Well, I used to say to Bumble and Graham Fowler, because we'd go together in cars to Old Trafford, and if they did have to run me back from Accrington to Great Harwood, and I said, just drop me at the Chippy. And they said, oh, okay, yeah. So I went in and got fish and chips. I didn't have a steak pudding then, because I just had fish and chips. I said, right, I'll see you tomorrow. He said, no, well, we'll run you home. I said, no, I'm eating these fish and chips, walking home. And they said, we'll get a rollicking from Jacqueline, not running you home. I said, I'll get a rollicking if I'm taking these fish and chips, and on top of that, I won't get my tea.
Brilliant, Simo. I mean, it's been unbelievable catching up with you again. You look fantastic. It looks like lockdown has treated you well.
Can I tell you one story? After the first game I ever played for Lancashire, was at Blackpool against Northants. And I didn't do too well with the bat. I got one, and then I didn't quite get one in the second innings. And Jack Bond turned around and said, don't worry about it, Simo. You always get 2 chances playing first-class cricket, not 1 playing in the leagues. I said, oh, that's good, Jack. And he put me on. And through one umpire, Cess Pepper, I played for Lancashire, because I'm bowling to Ackerman and somebody else, and this is where you learn from Bondi. I got it through the covers twice because it was a bit wide of off stump, and I asked Jack Bond, could I have somebody in the covers there? And he said, no, you don't set a field to bad balls. Right. So I'm bowling at Cess Pepper's end, and he just turned around. He knew it was my first game, and he said, why don't you bowl round? Do you never bowl round the wicket, Jack, to left-handers? And I said, oh, I never thought about it at the moment. And he said, I think it might be all right for you. So I took my sweater off and went to fielding position, came back, and Hilton Ackerman, left-hand opening bat for Northants. I ran up to bowl, wrapped him on the pads, and with a big Sam, I'm not saying it turned, bowling around the wicket, but I just went up and I turned round and shouted as loud as I could to Seth, how's that? He said, what did I tell you, Jack? That's out.
Brilliant.
And that was the first wicket I ever got. The second one I got, I thought I claimed for either caught behind or LBW, and he gave it out the opposite. Anyway, I finished up with 3 wickets. For 40 odd runs in the game. I signed a contract for Lancashire when I came off, and I looked in the paper and it gave the averages for career averages of Lancashire, and Jack Simmons was top. 3 wickets for 44 runs, an average of 14.66. Do you know who was second?
Go on.
Brian Statham, 2,262 wickets at 16s, and I was above him. And I thought, Simo, you've a long way to go to catch up to that great bowler.
Absolutely.
And it was absolutely superb. And he came and, you know, well, naturally, that was his last year that I started. And then he was on the committee, and I always got on with him very, very well. So it just proved, and even after 22 years, Warren, of getting over 1,500 wickets and over 12,000 runs, I'm nowhere near Brian Statham. He got 2,200, and after 22 years, I only got 1,500.
Absolutely, and that's probably a good place to go on to mention and to finish that yourself alongside Jack Bond, Clive Lloyd, Brian and Farouk Engineer, who we're going to speak to in a couple of weeks, were inducted into the inaugural Hall of Fame because of the services you gave to Lancashire cricket and the efforts that you gave. Jack Simmons, it's been brilliant to chat to you, mate. I'm glad you're looking so well. Thank you for joining us on the Legends series, sharing some of your play for our great club, and we look forward to catching up in that upstairs bit, and maybe we'll have a gin and tonic together.
Correct. Thanks, Warren.